Hi, my name is Kevin Lowe, and this is Screencasting Break-Even. So, in this diagram, we can see several lines. I'm gonna start by explaining what each line represents. So, first of all, we have the green line, which represents the total revenue curve. As we can see, the total revenue curve starts at 0, 0, and this makes sense because if a firm is producing zero output, then um, they're not receiving any revenue. So that's why it starts at 0, 0. If we sell our product at 0, this means if our products are free, as one can see, the total revenue disappears. And this is because if we make our products free, if we charge them 0, then we're not going to receive revenue. That's why it disappears. Next, the red curve, the red line, represents the total cost curve. There are two cost curves. First of all, the red line is the total cost, and the dotted horizontal line represents the fixed costs. As one can see, the fixed cost is completely horizontal because it does not change according to how output changes. For example, if I, if my company has to rent an area of land, I will only pay the initial cost of renting it, and this price will not change if I produce a lot of output or little to no output. As one can see also, the total cost curve, which is the red line, starts at where fixed cost starts, and this is because even though the firm is not producing any output, the fixed costs have to still be paid. There's another cost curve which is shown in this diagram, but it's usually not drawn. This is the variable cost, which is the other red dotted line, the one I am showing you right now. And these are the variable costs, and we can see a relationship between these three curves. The total cost curve um, is the sum of our variable costs plus our fixed costs. So if we add these two dotted lines together, we'll get our total costs. For now, I'm going to hide the variable cost line. Now I'm going to show how these curves change if I change its price, its variable cost, and its fixed costs. Starting by its fixed cost, if I put it at its maximum and then I reduce it, first of all, we're noticing that the fixed cost curve is shifting downwards. As this shifts downwards, the total cost curve also shifts downwards, and this is because obviously if I have lower fixed costs, then my total cost will also decrease. This relationship is similar with my variable costs. If I start a really high variable cost, first of all, I want you guys to notice that if I have really high variable costs, I am making a loss, which is this vertical line. This is because my total cost line is above my total revenue line, and means that I have my costs are too big, and the revenue received from selling my products are not enough to cover this cost. So we see that as the variable costs decrease, the total cost curve becomes more horizontal, and it starts to decrease. Next, we can see that first of all, I'm going to put my price at really maximum. If I have a really big price, if I sell my product at a really high price, for example 100, I will have a really low break-even point. If I start to decrease my price, you will see that the break-even point starts increasing. Why is this? This is because if I sell my product at a really high price, I will have to work less to reach the break-even point. This is because I am receiving larger prices, thus it is easier for the firm to cover its cost of production. Because of this reason, they are producing less output. They are producing less output. If I decrease my price, what you will see is that the break-even point starts increasing. This means that I will have to work harder to reach the break-even point. I will have to produce more output. Next, we can see, let me organize these lines first. Next, we can see this green point. This green point represents the current level of output. Let's say that I am producing below my break-even point, such as right now. If I am producing below my break-even point, there is a loss. And this is because the red point is above the green point, meaning that the total cost is greater than the total revenue. Let's say if I produce exactly at my break-even point. If I produce exactly at my break-even point, there is no profit because my total cost curve is equal to my total revenue curve. But then if I produce at the point which is greater than my break-even point, I will definitely have some profit. This is because the total revenue curve at this point lies above the total cost curve. This can be seen because the green point is above the red point. This is what firms should aim for. Firms should aim to produce beyond their break-even point. We can also notice that as firms produce more output, their profit becomes bigger, and the margin of safety also becomes bigger. The margin of safety is the difference between the quantity the firm is producing, sorry, the quantity the firm is producing and the quantity at the break-even point. Um, Obviously, as a firm produces more output and is making a greater profit, the margin of safety increases because the profit increases. This can also be seen by the vertical distances between the, the green line and the red line. Furthermore, those are basically all the relationships that we can observe from these graphs. So what's this? Personally, I feel I am doing really good in this topic. I had previously covered this kind of graphs in economics. However, there are some differences. For example, in economics, we didn't use formulas to find the break-even point. Instead, we just um, plotted the lines, and that's how we found the break-even point. Also, I didn't learn about the margin of safety. This is something new, and I find it really, really useful and really applicable to life events, to the real life. And personally, I think that again I'm doing well, and I hope to keep on learning.